Hey, welcome to It's On Talk Show. And today I have two very special guests, the great authors. And my first guest here is Akita Pearson. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
And let me just mention the title of this book, What in Hell Do You Want? Oh my God, this is the most awesome title of a book I've ever heard. Why did you title this book, What in the Hell Do You Want?
Because I was living in hell while on earth. The subtitle is Finding Peace While Living Hell on Earth. So even though we talk about a place of torment and damnation, actually you can experience that right here while living on earth through your experiences. My experience happened to be domestic violence.
Wow. So you wrote this book because you were in a domestic violence relationship?
Right. It was actually healing from the situation. And initially, because of pride, I didn't really want to publish it. But I had a very heartfelt experience in April when one of my colleagues, her husband, stabbed her multiple times, shot her. Wow. She died. He shot their 14-month-old daughter. She died. He shot and killed the grandmother. The grandmother died.
Wow.
And we never had a conversation about how I got out of that situation as far as resources, but we were in fellowship for many years. And when she died, this was just this past April, April
Really?
18th, 2012.
Wow.
And in the process of him wiping out his whole family, the police shot and killed him. But we never had that experience. And it's my goal. I'm on a mission for God to make sure that I spark the conversation about domestic violence because it's real and people are dying daily.
Right. Now, because I read this book from beginning to end, so you actually was involved in domestic violence for some time, for years.
For several years. And the thing about it, it starts out very minute, and you really don't notice some of the characteristics unless you've experienced. I've never experienced that. And the physical attributes of domestic violence may not occur on a daily basis, may not be on a yearly basis. But when it occurs, it's important that a person takes action.
Yeah, because I read on page 39 here was very critical because what you had prayed to God that you wanted God to change your husband so that he would be a nice guy, not hit on you anymore, and you really tried to justify it through the scriptures.
Most definitely, because I am a woman of God, had always been a woman of God, and I'm in church and I'm professing Christ, and he went to church, but was not living by the principles of Christ. So as far as me, I wanted the Lord to activate on my behalf, and I argued with God. And you know, I really, it was really difficult for me because I said, Lord, I'm tithing, I'm believing in you, I'm a true child of God, and your word says that my husband is saved through me. But one thing that I didn't realize at the time was that every man has to see God for themselves.
That's right.
So it doesn't matter how much I prayed. It doesn't matter how much I fast. That person is not going to change until that person really wants to.
So obviously he was still beating the hell out of you.
Oh, most definitely.
While you were praying.
While I was praying.
Woo! Have mercy,
and
Jesus.
cursing God in the same breath.
So you must have wrote this book because obviously there are so many women right now that are engaged in relationships or marital relationships where they're being abused physically, and you want to help those women out. Is that right?
Most definitely.
Can you tell a woman out there that's in TV land that's in a situation like this how to get out, how to release themselves from the pits of hell?
Well, the first thing to do is to come out of denial and realize that the very first hit should be the last hit. And the book has a lot of resources. A lot of times it's not where you just can leave right at that moment, but there are emergency plans. There are safety plans so you can take precautions, because when a person shows you their true selves, you have to believe it. So when a person says they're going to kill you, they may not kill you today, but don't think for a moment that it won't happen.
So I guess you would tell that woman to run, get out now?
Most definitely.
Because I noticed your book, you talked about get out now, leave now. Don't wait
Do not
until
wait.
the next time, the next story, you know, this dude says, oh, I love you, blah, 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 you know.
Well, it's a cycle. It goes through a cycle. So after the abuse, then there's what's called the honeymoon period.
What is that?
So then you're caught up in a cycle of where your spouse or your intimate partner will give you gifts. They will treat you kind,
right,
to try and win you over from the abuse, and even play mind games as if you didn't do this, then I would not have hit you. And you have to realize that it is the cycle of abuse.
Well, you know, given today's society where we're in an economic downtrodden, it is so sad where people are losing jobs, homes, cars. Has that heightened domestic violence?
Well, I think it may have some factors that may allude to that. However, there are so many issues that individuals do not deal with. And a lot of times they're dealing with hurts and pains from childhood that they have not dealt with themselves. And we have to always remember that hurting people hurt people.
Absolutely, that's right, that's right.
So it's important that that the victim gets help, but the abuser, there's help for them as well.
That's good. That's good. And that's so very important to know. And what would you say to a man out there right now that's abusing his wife? He knows he's doing it. What would you say to him? Because he's looking right now.
Well, for every man that is abuser or a perpetrator, it's important that you get help. Help is available, and it may not be whereas you feel as though it's the manly thing to do, but the biggest thing you can do as a man is to get help and to stop the abuse.
You wrote a chapter here about fear. Fear is a strong word. My belief, if you have fear, you don't have much faith. But so how should someone that's fearful deal with this situation?
They really need to seek and look at resources, because most men are stronger than the average woman.
Right.
So when you look at the physical aspects of it, it's very easily for a woman to become fearful of a man. But one thing we do not look at a lot of times are the invisible scars. And the invisible scars last longer than a physical scar.
Absolutely.
And people carry around those issues for many years and develop things that they may not even recognize, such as trust issues, you know, being rejected. And all of those things can stem from their experiences of being in a domestic abuse situation. But when we look at fear, a woman who may not be the breadwinner, she's fearful because what's going to happen to her and her children? How are they going to fend? Is it better for me to stay here in a house that has lights, that has heat, or is it better for me to go to a shelter? Comfortable living in a situation and fearful of what is unknown.
Wow, that's deep, because I'm sure a lot of women are experiencing this same situation right now.
Most definitely.
So would you tell that woman just to run and to deal with the losses?
Most definitely. I would say that there are resources available. There are several resources, several programs, such as the House of Ruth. There are domestic violence centers in every community, and there are resources available. There are legal aid, free legal aid. There are free emergency assistance. And the thing about it is, we may have to go through a storm for a little while, but the storm doesn't last always.
I like that. You know, and I look at a lot of those men who abuse women, I call them weak guys, you know, because they wouldn't come and fight me. You know, me being an ex-Marine, I'm pretty tough, you know.
Right.
But they'll hit on a woman. I think that's very soft and very weak of you, and that you should man up and be a real man.
Most definitely. And we look at it, a lot of the abusers, I mean, no one would ever suspect that they are abusing their wife or their intimate partner when they get home. They're ministers, they're engineers, they're policemen, they're upholding citizens in your communities.
Right. And why women, why are you upholding them? You know, they're wrong, they're hurting you. Get out, run, tell on them. You know, don't hold secrets. I don't believe in secrets.
Well, we're only as sick as our secrets.
That's deep. I like that.
We're
woman that, because she needs to hear that.
When you're in a domestic situation, you are as sick as your secrets.
So, and when the fear is coupled with then isolation, and you talk about isolation quite a bit in the book.
Right, because what happens is when you become fearful, then you isolate yourself.
And did your ex-husband keep you away from your family?
He tried to.
Okay.
And the other thing is I have something in the book that I talk about more so than physical abuse. I call it embarrassment abuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because once you're publicly humiliated,
right,
that's something that you want to just crawl under a rock and just hide.
And look, as pretty as you are, you're beautiful, intelligent. Look at you, dude. I could. Let me go find that guy. I'll beat him up myself for you. No, but it's sad because here beautiful women are being abused by dudes. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Man, you weak. You are a weak fella. If you got to abuse your wife, your children, even your dog, you're weak. And you need some help. He needs counseling.
Right.
Like
and one other thing is that one of the greatest issues that we have specifically in various cultures is we do not want to admit to our mental health issues.
Yeah, and that's a real big
And there are
issue
a
now.
lot of men who have mental health issues and refuse to get assistance.
And sadly, because I've done so many shows on this, a lot of men were physically and sexually abused as children. So now they're taking it out on the weaker vessel, which is the woman. Right. Which is wrong, dude. But that's where they need to seek counseling.
Exactly.
But they don't want to mount to it because they were like the macho. So to maintain their strength and ability to be a tough guy, they beat on
the
the woman.
stigma of getting assistance for mental health.
Yeah.
Looking at mental health as you're being crazy, but I mean, there are physicians, there are white collar workers that get assistance with mental health issues on a daily basis. So it's just a stigma of saying that I'm crazy, and that's totally not the situation. But if you suffer from bipolar or manic depression or whatever the situation may be, just like a lot of the troops that come back and they suffer from mental illnesses from their experiences, and a lot of times they don't want to get the services. Several individuals may have health care that cover those charges, but they won't go.
You know what? I want to say this. I'm sad that you had to experience it. However, I praise God that you did. Why? Because now you can change the lives of millions of women, millions of families. Because your book, you have so many references where people can get resources and help. This book is so very powerful. It's so powerful that you really need to take a look at this book. And she has information where you can get in contact with her for the book. But you want to give the information now? So in case someone is interested in this book?
It's very simple. You can go to the website at www.akitapearson.com. That's www.akedapearson.com.
Right. And you also have a guidebook here as well, along with the book. So can you talk about your guide here?
Yes, I believe that faith without works is dead. So when you come out of denial, you have to work it.
Okay.
So not only are you in your word and in the scriptures, but you also have to work out those things and be able to use the workbook to take an in-depth and keen look at yourself.
Okay.
Because we can't focus on the other person. The only person that we can change, the only person that we can improve is ourselves.
That's right.
So the workbook is there to really help the individual work out those issues of fear, isolation, rejection, and abandonment.
So how proud are you of yourself now that you've written this book and now that millions of people are now seeing you? How proud are you of yourself?
Well, I just give it all to God, because it's all through God that I had this experience, and He has put me in a place and on a platform to spark conversation about domestic violence, which we do not talk about enough.
That's right. Not even churches even bring this matter up because, again, there are preachers, there are deacons, there are church leaders who are abusive to their families. I mean, everybody knows, but nobody talks about it.
Right, and pride.
And pride, right. I believe that we should expose people that are doing what's wrong.
I agree.
Because, I mean, it is not fair because what happens is that it affects the children.
Yes.
Certainly the woman that's being abused.
It affects the entire family, especially if you're in a close-knit family. And with
the community.
And the community.
Absolutely.
And the community.
You won't be productive.
Right.
You're living in shame, in isolation, in fear. So, on the show again, We try to bring people like yourself here who really care about people, who want people to do better and be better, and to be hopeful. And certainly, you are a spark of a fresh fire, because you are now exposing people who are abusing their wives, their children, and in hopes that the abuser themselves can get help.
Exactly.
So you're not leaving open. So that says that you really care.
There are resources for the abuser and for the perpetrator. And for the majority of the victims are women, but men are victims as well.
Yeah, because I've heard some situations where women beat the guys up. That just couldn't happen over here. I don't see it.
Right, but there are men, but they're underreported.
Yeah, yeah.
And even though they're underreported, most of the domestic situations are underreported.
Well, what could you give a message specifically to the men who are being abused?
For every man that may be in a domestic situation where you are being abused by your wife, be it physical abuse, emotional abuse, or mental abuse, there is help for you too. There are resources for men just as well as it is for women and children. The best thing to do is to get help.
Man up, son. Man up, son. Get some help. You want to give your email address again, because somebody is probably about 2 million people want to communicate with you online. Do you want to give your?
Yes, you can reach me at www.akedapearson.com. That's www.akedapearson.com.
So if a church is having a convention, and one aspect of the convention is domestic violence, could they contact you to help them out?
Most definitely, they can contact me. The books are great for outreach ministries, women ministries, men ministries, and for individuals. Mm-hmm. And it's good for study groups. There are study groups that are actually using it now.
Really? Great.
For their ministries.
Okay, great. Again, I am so proud of you. And again, I want to apologize to you for the dude that was violent towards you as a man. I think he was so wrong. But at the same time, I'm so glad that you are now a spark of light for millions, and that you can help people and women all over the world, because and to let them know that no, they do not have to stay in a abusive relationship. They can just straight up run, get out.
Exactly. Yes. And there's help available.
That's right.
Help available every community throughout the United States and internationally, because it's not something that is just something that happens in the United States. Mm-hmm. It spans all cultures.
Absolutely.
All cultures.
Absolutely. So because there's I have a friend in church, and she was abused by a boyfriend. So there are a lot of young people as well being abused or in abusive relationships with younger men. So how would you address a young girl, teenager?
Well, there are resources and educational seminars for teenagers just as well as for adults. I just host 2 sessions back last month for National Domestic Violence Month in Columbia, where I partnered with the Howard County Domestic Violence Center. Great. Where there were workshops available for teen dating, which touched on what to look for in a violent relationship, as well as resources for adults. So there are educational seminars that are provided through domestic violence centers throughout all communities. There is information available for their hotlines. So teenagers, there are curriculums specifically for teenagers.
Right, and in your book you have a lot of information where the resources are.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's
resources for every state.
Every state. Wow. Michigan. Oh, wow. Indiana. Iowa. Massachusetts. Maine. Iowa. Wow. Hey, this is great. So we're about to go now, but what would your message be to specifically the women out there that are in abusive relationships? Because you all have now a great friend, Akeda Pearson.
Being in a domestic violence situation is living in hell. And what in hell do you want? Hopefully nothing. And if you're being abused physically, mentally, and emotionally, get out.
Now, get out now, run. Run, Guppy, run. No, I'm just kidding, but it's serious. You got to get out because you do not deserve to be beaten on. You know, God made you wonderful. He made no mistakes. He made you so perfect to be helpful to someone else. But you can't be helpful to anyone else if you're no good. If you're in fear, in isolation, you know, your children. I mean, it's sad. Children are so affected by parents that are being abused.
Right. And a lot of times we don't know our worth and what God says about us. Jeremiah 29:11 says it so clearly. He says, and I always like to put myself in the scriptures.
Go ahead.
For I know my thoughts towards you, Akita. And they are thoughts to do good and not of evil.
That's
to
right.
give you an expected end. So God, he only wants us to prosper.
That's
he only
right.
wants what's good. And he only wants us in healthy relationships.
Absolutely.
And he says to have life and have life more abundantly.
Go
An
ahead.
abundant life is not a life of abuse.
Right, because I read in your book where you lost some of your dreams for a while.
Right.
You stopped dreaming.
Yes.
And now look at you, aspiring to do whatever God has in store for you to do.
Exactly. God has me on a mission.
Absolutely. So again, world, again, I introduce you to Akita Pearson, the author of What in the Hell Do You Want? And again, do not stay in a abusive relationship. You can get out. You have my permission to run. Okay? And Akita, if someone is watching the show right now and a woman needs to go somewhere tonight, let's just say in Baltimore, Maryland, where can she go?
Well, there are several places in Maryland that she can go. There's the House of Ruth. That's one of the major one of the major resources in Baltimore as well as in other counties. So I would tell her to contact the House of Ruth. But if she dials 911, they will automatically refer her to a domestic violence center.
Right, and now the police here in Maryland are taking domestic violence a little more serious because one time it was like, oh well, just stay.
Right,
there.
and training.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're required to do training.
Yeah, yeah. So there's so much more sensitivity to in the matter of domestic violence. So look, we want to thank you for coming on. You want to give your email address just one more time?
You can reach me at www.akitapearson.com. That's www.AKEDAPEARSON.com.
So in other words, if you're in a domestic relationship, you are living in hell. So what in hell do you want? Get out, run. It's hot in there. I'll be back. Don't move. It's on Talk Show, and I have a very, very special treat for you today. We have here the group Heaven Sent. These are two brothers, Lord Murphy and Michael Murphy. And you know, I want to let you know, I grew up with these guys as a little fella. We had a great time. I mean, I'm so proud of both of you. Man, look, sing your heart out. The world needs to hear you.
We got it.
Do your thing. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Yeah.
Said more than a conqueror. No longer live my life in defeat.
Yes.
Jesus be a light unto my path.
Come on, baby.
Blessed lamp unto my feet. Yeah. Heaven's only favor is what I truly see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And out of a grateful heart, my mouth will continue to speak. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. I found that strength all in thee. And now I can't go wrong. Was blinded, now I see.
Now I see.
No longer will I live my life that way.
No, that way.
Your words come along, shown me a brighter day. Now I'm yielding to the Spirit, sets me free. Sin will no longer conquer me. And I'll sing it all day long. I wrote it in my song. Yielding to the Spirit sets me free. Sin will no longer conquer me. And I'll sing it all day long. Whoa, my life was spinning out of
That is
control.
out of control.
Your word has come along and made me whole.
Jesus has made me
No
whole.
longer live my life a slave, not to sin.
No.
Holy Spirit cleanse me deep, war within. guide me with your light that shines from up above. Jesus came so he could show us how to love. Now I look toward you each and every day. You're the truth, the light, the only way. Jesus came and saved my soul. Holy Spirit, take control. Once blind I said, but now I see. Jesus, all you found in me. Well, it's you we praise. Know you're coming back one day. And now hearts your love revealed. Broken hearts are healed. Ooh, yeah. Broken hearts are healed. Said broken hearts are healed. And we trust in thee, because we know you're coming back one day. Oh, Jesus came and saved my soul. Holy Spirit, take control. Once blind I said, but now I see. Jesus, all you found in me. Emmanuel, it's you we praise. Know you're coming back one day. It's in your hearts our love revealed. Broken hearts are healed. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Wow, brothers, hold up, man. Y'all are up, man. Fantastic job. I'm so proud of y'all, man. It's so good to be back with old friends. Man, y'all serving God, doing the right things, man.
Oh, hallelujah.
Hey, man, y'all keep doing good, man.
Thank you for having us.
God bless you.
Thank you for having us.
Good, man. Good to have y'all, man.
It's
And
all
we'll be
right.
right back. Don't move. Hey, welcome back to It's On Talk Show. And I have my second guest here, Miss Violet Gamble Murphy, the author of The Happy Hour. You got to read this book. I'm telling you, it is so exciting. I feel like Oprah up here talking about reading books, but it's all right. Miss Murphy, how you doing?
Oh, well, thanks for asking, John, and yourself.
I'm doing great. So wonderful to have you here. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, I originally wrote the book as a play. It started off as a play. It was a play that I felt needed to be heard, seen. After not getting it produced the way I wanted to as a play, I decided to make it into a book.
Mm-hmm. And this is your life story.
Some instances,
Yes.
not all of it, but
Okay.
some instances.
Yeah. So let's talk about the book. This one mean villain, the uncle. Oh,
Yes.
my. Can you talk about that?
Well, as it relates to myself in the story, it discussed an uncle, a young child who grew up with an uncle who was abusing her. She told her mother about it, but her mother, put it on the side. She didn't pay attention to it. And I think that happens a lot in relationships and households with young children and older men.
Mm-hmm. And when you mention that, because the uncle was sexually abusing you as a child, and when you told your mother, she just blew it off, didn't tell your father or your brother to get help, because some women they just want to hold on to secrets, and secrets really hurt.
Definitely. Okay, as it relates in the story, as I mentioned, the story is not all of my own. I think what I did was each character was a part of me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have brothers. I had sisters.
Okay.
I had a mother who was very dominant, so she wasn't as passive as Mama in the story.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, there were stories that never got past what I said.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel protected, and I think that's what happens a lot of times. Young children grow up. There's abuse going on. They're afraid to tell about it. And then when they do, it's kind of pushed under the rug. And that ultimately causes a problem for the child.
Absolutely.
So that's why I wanted to tell that story, because you don't tell what happens. And then when you do, when you don't get the reaction you expected, or if the person continues to be friends with that person, it's a slap in the face.
So, because you wrote this book to help people, because you want to let people know that abuse is going on in families right now, and that parents need to listen to their children. Um, Parents, listen to your children. It's unfortunate because you're probably older than 20 years old. We can leave it like that.
A little bit.
Okay. But back then, times were nice. People were nice, but there were a lot of sexual abuse going on.
Definitely.
And nowadays, as I often say, people straight up crazy now, cracked out, smoked out, doped up. You don't know what they're doing with a small child in the house.
Correct. And I think so many times we look at families and we think, we look from the outside and we see a family that we feel like they're doing well, things are going well, and so we think this can't happen to them.
Absolutely, that's right.
This can't be happening in their families. And that's so wrong because it happens everywhere. And it happens to any family.
And, not only to little girls, but to little boys as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, so we have really got to be conscious. And, your book, it's a wonderful story. It's so exciting. And it's growing up. So what you actually did to deal with the psyche of being abused, you start partying, having a good time. You want to talk about that?
Well, like I said, all of it wasn't me. Okay. In this book, there was Terry. Yeah. Terry was a young lady who was being abused. And because of it, as a result of her abuse and her relationship with her father and her uncle, she decided that she was not going to be the victim any longer. So she changed the way she acted. She partied all the time. She had the let me get them before they get me attitude. So Terry was just the opposite of the way she was when she was a child. She was abused as a child. So as an adult, she decided that she would be the one that she put her guards up. She became very abusive to her relationship.
Absolutely. Again, hurt people.
Yes, because she just did not want to be hurt anymore. So I think it happens a lot. Fortunately, she had friends who understood, to be there, but they did not know no one knew what she had gone through.
Exactly right.
And that's usually what happens. No one wants to tell. It's a thing that makes you ashamed. It makes you try to figure out why me.
Right.
What did I do to deserve this? Am I the weakest one? You become the weakest link. That's how you feel. That's how you see yourself.
Wow.
And ultimately, everything that happens after that is a result. So you have to get to the point where you get out of that mindset. You have to learn to love yourself.
That's right. That's very important.
And refuse to accept any kind of abuse at all.
So what would you say to encourage a young person that's going through a sexual abuse right now, maybe with uncle, big brother, father, grandfather, family friend? What would you say to a young lady?
I'd say tell someone. Tell everybody that will listen to you. Tell your mother, tell your sisters, tell your friends, tell your teachers, tell anyone who will listen. And you say it until you can't say it anymore, because someone is going to listen.
You know what I've been telling kids? Now we live in a technological era. You have videos, camcorders. You can video on your laptops. They even have baby dolls with a camera and set something up so family members can see exactly what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Let's go high tech, because the key is you don't want no child to be sexually abused.
Definitely not, because it like I said, it's a scar that stays around for a long time. And if you don't get help, it really affects your life, all aspects of it.
Absolutely. I just did a show. It's called The Phoenix Power. The Phoenix Ministry at my church at Empowerment Temple, where women are now getting help, getting counseling, and they're now being freed from their the person that did them wrong, and they're now some happy folks because they got the counseling, they got help.
Definitely.
Because they had that stuff bottled all up in, and it was hard, they was mean, they was angry, even angry at God.
Yes, understandably so, because when you're young and you can't understand why it has happened to you, and when someone that you depended on doesn't hear what you've said,
right,
or if they heard it and they reacted at that time, but then they're still you know, as a child, you say, why are you still friends with that person? You know, because to me and to most, it feels like if you're still friends with them, then obviously I wasn't important or you didn't believe me.
Right. So this is where mothers, big sisters, fathers need to really pay attention to children and listen to them. Because, you know, they may say something in codes, maybe not in words, but in their emotions, their looks, their actions. So you have to be very cautious of your children.
Definitely. Definitely. And the children, that's how they see it. I've not, and I'm going to say I was fortunate enough. I'm fortunate enough that I've never seen this person after this.
Okay.
To this day, I don't know how I would react if I did.
Well,
I don't want to.
yeah.
You know, I don't want to see them because, as far as I'm concerned, and it may not be the right thing to say, and maybe
Go ahead
that's
and
a
say it.
port.
Let's keep it
maybe
real here.
that's,
Go
maybe
ahead.
that's a portion of my growth that I've not gotten to yet. I can't honestly say I could forgive him. I've forgiven myself
Yeah.
because I took the blame,
Yeah.
not understanding as a child. As an adult, I blame myself because I felt like I was weak. And had I
That's a
been
baby.
stronger,
Yeah.
then it wouldn't have happened to me. So I've forgiven myself, but I don't know if I could forgive him.
Yeah, that's deep. You know, because with the Phoenix Ministries, what they've said, they have forgiven their abusers because it took something off of them. You know what I'm saying? But I thought you was going to say you was going to shoot him, like my boy Dante Stokes. He did to Father Blackwell for abusing him. I'm ex-Marine, so I'm kind of tough. But you know, it's wrong. It's just, I understand, and God understands, because, you know, it really pissed me off because I just couldn't imagine ever being abused. So I would probably have to go. I just wouldn't work.
Right.
Somebody be done. Amen. Because that's tough. So let's get back to the book. So the story talks about went out partying just to deal with that, get your psyche back. So and this woman, you became a lawyer, and was strong.
Yes.
Didn't take no stuff.
Right.
And of course, it affected her relationships because she had fear. And see, fear is, I hate fear because it's contrary with faith, you know. And I'm not a counselor, of course, but I would honestly love for you to talk to the women of Phoenix Ministries. They could really, really help you because they're some awesome sisters. But you got over it.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful part. And now you have a wonderful husband, Mr. Jamie Murphy.
That's right.
Yeah, and of course I grew up under your husband. Always admired him, a great guy. He used to drive a big old Lincoln around. Wonderful person. Him and his other brothers. So how's life now?
I can't complain. God is good.
Yes.
I understand now my greater mission. I understand that it's also my responsibility to say as much as I can when it comes to abuse, you know, for all those out there who are afraid to speak, who are afraid to bring it up, all the mothers out there, because I have kids, and I can't imagine for the life of me something happening to them.
That's right. Protect your kids. That's right.
So I just think it's very important that parents hear their children, they listen to the signs, they watch the signs.
That's right.
Because sometimes all children don't talk. I was a passive child, so my mother used to say. I didn't talk much. I was always smiling. So it made me feel like being nice, you know, was a bad thing for me back then. Because I was the nice one, I was the one that was abused. So I just think it's very important that mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles and grandparents hear their children. You know, hear them.
Right. And you know, and most important, don't have uncles, grandfathers around. I'm sorry, family members, friends. No. Is that right?
Yes, you have to watch them. You have to watch everybody.
That's right.
And you don't want to feel like that, but you have to watch everyone.
That's right. Because children are just vulnerable and weak, you know, and these persons are just predators, and they suck. And most of all, they're weak people.
Without a doubt.
The predators, they're weak people. They wouldn't come and mess with an adult. No, only a child, because they're weak. And most of them have been abused.
Right.
And they, again, hurt people. You know. So what would you say to a person right now that's abusing a young child?
I don't know what to say to someone who's abusing a young child, because I just don't think it's an excuse for it. I don't think, there's no justification for it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Not for a child,
That's
I mean,
right.
it's bad enough to abuse anyone, but for a child, I can't fathom that there's an excuse for it at all.
Listen, one thing, let me just say this to you. Sadly, and I apologize for him abusing you, but God allowed this to happen to you, obviously. So today you could write this book, because this book will release women and some men from a mental state of abuse. Because what happens, I know at the end, the uncle came to a Thanksgiving dinner.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the uncle came to dinner.
Uh-huh.
A celebratory dinner.
Uh-huh.
As if nothing had ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the crap hit the fan.
That's right. And you told what happened. Your dad was there, brothers, family members was there. And wow, people could not believe that this uncle, this wonderful, great guy, abused a little girl sexually. So, the holidays are coming. So if you're sitting around the Thanksgiving table, let loose the secrets. Hello? Is that right? What would you encourage folks to do at the dinner table if if things have happened in the past or going on at the present time?
Well, hopefully they've already discussed it. Like I said, back then, I grew up in a time where it was hush-hush.
Right.
There were things you didn't discuss, things
Absolutely.
that parents didn't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
At this day and age, children are so more open, thank goodness.
Yeah. A little too open, but you know what I mean.
But I would advise anyone, if you have an opportunity and it's happening to you, put it out there.
That's right. Tell somebody. Yell it out. Be wild with it. You know what I'm saying? Just be straight up. Like granddaddy is molesting me, or pop molesting me, or uncle's molesting me. You tell it. Be strong. Don't be afraid. Don't live in fear. And when you stand up and you vocalize, you be strong, then you will be admired. Then you'll show your strength, your courage. Because God does not want nobody abusing you sexually, physically. You are very special. God has great things for you in life. So you can vocalize yourself, at that dinner table. But again, like I've told many young people, use video cameras. If somebody's doing something to you and your mother's stuck on stupid and don't want to or allow this to happen, show the videotape to another family member that's strong, your grandmother, your uncle, your aunt, that is a little bit crazy and will fight. Well, that's what you got to do. You know what I mean? Sometimes
Right.
you have to be forceful with some things. You can't play. And this is the time, because what happened, it could possibly, some people that are abused are mentally destroyed.
Right.
And so we don't want this to happen. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
I mean, it's, sometimes as crazy as those people are, you have to get crazier, because we ain't tolerating that no more. Some things are not to be tolerated. Do you follow me?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Because at the Thanksgiving table, it was wild. It was like, yeah, he did this, and everybody was shocked and surprised. But there was a time where you got your strength back, because the person that was abusing you became the little person,
Right.
the weak one.
Right. And like I said in the book, someone recommended she get help,
Mm-hmm.
and she did, and I did,
Mm-hmm.
because it manifests as nightmares, like I said, inappropriate behavior,
Mm-hmm.
anger,
That's right. Sometimes
So-
drug abuse.
without a doubt.
Yeah. So it's so many causes as a result of that effect. So again, what would you say to someone out there again that's being abused? Because they just got the courage up now. Can you speak back to them?
Yeah. Tell someone. Tell everybody. Tell anybody who will listen. Tell your teachers, your grandparents, your a relative, friend's mother, pastor, someone in the church, anybody who will listen, tell it, write it down, tell it, record it.
That's right. So, if a person want to get in contact with you so they can read your book, how could they?
Well, through email, violet.murphy@comcast.net.
You want to say it a little slower?
Violet, VIOLET, .Murphy, MURPHY, @comcast.net.
You know, you're such a wonderful person, and I'm so proud of you because, you know, you're going to help so many women, so many children to prevent abuse, and all the women who have experienced it, they're going to smile again because of you.
Well, I certainly hope so.
Absolutely.
I hope so.
You know, so I'm really excited for your life and your courage. I mean, I honestly respect you because you stood up and says, wait a minute, this happened to me, and now I'm going to help the world so it won't happen again. So if it does happen, you don't have to stay there. You can get out the rut.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can soar your wings again because you're somebody. And, you know, because God is so awesome and he has such great purpose for people in life. You know, he doesn't want people to be limited because he wants to do some extraordinary things. And I'm just glad that your heart was open and receptive to God's call to write this book because, I mean, it took time, it took courage, you know, and it took a lot of creativity. And I tell you, it's a real good read. And guys, you got to get it out there. The Happy Hour. But you know, and if you're a woman out there that had some experience of being molested, or raped, and you find yourself just trying to party it off, check this book out because you know this book will give you some peace. And so, can you just relate to that woman that's out there partying, trying to party it off?
Yeah, it doesn't work. You know, after a while, you still have to go back home. You still have to go to sleep. And more importantly, you still have to look at yourself in the mirror. And if you can't look at yourself and feel good about who you are, then there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm. And you would advise counseling?
Without a doubt, counseling. Like I said, it's always important to speak to someone about it if you're feeling it. Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid to get help. Don't be afraid to see a psychiatrist or psychologist or whatever it takes because that helps.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and that, you know, you got to just stand and be courageous. Don't be fearful. You know, fear is out, faith is in. And certainly, Miss Violet here has experienced the worst parts, but the worst days are now gone. Right. Now there are the glorious days, the wonderful days to look forward because you got your smile. You know, and you know, I believe this: bad things happen to great people because they try to. It's almost like it's a satanic move trying to prevent you from doing and walking in your purpose like you are now, just to discourage you. But you are encouraged, and that's great. And you know, I just again, your husband is such a wonderful person, and I see he supported you throughout the book, which is very wonderful. And you know, one of the greatest things is family.
Yes.
And when you have a solid family, you're living. That's what life is all about.
Yes.
So could you encourage women out there that a family is possible?
Oh, a family is possible.
Love is possible.
Yeah. Yes, love is possible. Real love, true love. And it's very important that we understand that and know that nothing that has happened in your past is your fault, especially as a child. We hope that there's always someone there to teach us, to guide us along the way. If by chance something should happen, understand that it's not your fault. If you need help, get help. Call someone, like I said. Tell everybody that will hear you, that will listen to you, and know that you can get past it.
Yeah, because the holidays are coming. You're going to be around those tables, yell it out, tell, you know. And you know, let's talk about family secrets for a second. What would you say about family secrets?
I know every family has a secret, but there are some secrets that are not meant to be secrets, that shouldn't be kept as secrets.
That's right. Keep no secrets. There should be no secrets. And don't never be threatened by somebody says he's going to kill your mom, your dad. They're not going to do it. They're weak people. Duh. You know. So you young people today are very strong. very wise. You know, you have strength. And you are strong. You are great. You are somebody. You absolutely do matter. So could you give a last word to a little girl out there?
Tell someone, please, get some help. Like I said, you know, send me an email. Anybody that will hear you, speak out and let someone know that someone is hurting you. Even if you think something is inappropriate, tell someone. It's better to be safe than sorry.
All right. Listen, I want to thank you all for tuning in. This has been a great show. Again, the happy hour. You want to give your email one more time? Because somebody's interested in this book.
Okay, it's Violet, Violet, .murphy@comcast.net.
And we want you not to have a happy hour. We want you to have a happy life. Hey, peace and love. I love y'all out there. I'll see you next time. Peace. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Mom.
Stay watching D-Flow. I try to see myself on D-Flow.
Well, you on there right now. Emotions too, man. Yeah.
She grew up as emotion.
Any strong emotion that's invoked is what I write about.
A modern day Poets Underground.
2003, I actually met Emotion, and her studio was like the stomping ground for any up-and-coming local artists, especially in the Baltimore area.
Right.
Studios and D-Flow TV hold me down since I was 10 years old, man. Participating in anything with that DF on it.
Standing right here with Beanie Siegel. DJ Khaled in this
D-Flow Studio, the movie. You feel me?
Yo, this is Crucial of Crucial Keys, and you're watching Deep Flow TV.
What's good? It's your boy Juve the Great doing it real big right here on Deep Flow TV.
Sesame the Ghost Double R D Block right here on Deep Flow TV.
Shout out to Deep Flow TV. I'm your boy Chopper Young City.
Deep Flow TV.
Good in the building, yeah. You're checking out Deep Flow TV, alright? Keep it locked.
Day 26 across the building. We got Brian going off right here next to me.
This house, sunscreen, and Afro Sheen will be in the cabinet.
Let's stand here with Flair from the wire.
If it ain't Deep Flow, it ain't nothing. Deep Flow TV is live. Deep Flow TV, you know how I get it in. Shout out to Deep Flow Studios,
it's your boy Jay Holiday, of course. Right now, you're checking out Deep Flow TV.
There's a lot of passion and a lot of connections. Y'all touch the hood with that. It's deep to be out there like that.
That's why we call Deep Flow.
Deep Flow TV.
You already know. Little Sparks in the building. Holla. We here all day. Yes, sir.
Yeah, chilling with Deep Flow TV. This is the boy Skinny Shield chilling with my homies.
I'm sitting here with Mano, and I'm hanging out with Deep Flow TV.
Shout out to Deep Flow TV.
You already know. Popping off heavy ahead. Blackbird Entertainment. You know what I'm saying?
It's got Diddy in the building right here.
The whole world crazy. Saying the homes outdated. We do something else greater. Was that my boyfriend calling? I just call him back later.
Y'all watching Deep Flow TV. Keep it locked.
It's Chief Rocker, Busy Bee, the backbone of the microphone. Hip hop's first solo MC. You're now watching Deep Flow TV. So check it out. www.deepflowtv.com.
That's how we do. Keep it got it. Deep Flow Studios.
In tonight's cover story, Kathleen Cairns takes us inside a modern-day Poets Underground.
It's raining in Baltimore.
Under Baltimore's sunny skyline,
So many problems going on.
the harsh realities of the inner city are often hidden.
Your basic hood.
For some, the MLK is their front yard.
You know, it's a whole nother world. It's just another day of being home.
Despite the odds, Takia Johnson has been able to pursue her childhood dreams.
I chose nursing just to reach out and help others.
And she writes words with a passionate pulse on reality.
Welcome to Baltimore, but you are not welcome here.
From the
Everything
streets
we cry about fall on deaf ears.
to the studios,
Welcome to Baltimore, but you are not welcome here.
it's Miss Stress.
This is on TV and now they think they know our pain. Welcome to Baltimore, but you are not welcome here.
Rap, a musical phenomenon.
They get to view my city through my eyes.
My movement is really about Baltimore. It's like we get a lot of attention for the wire. It's like basically my way of turning a negative to a positive.
Meet the Boss Man.
Bloods rock red, Crips rock blue. We rock that orange and black, homie. What about you?
He's signed with a major label and known nationwide. Boss Man has made it big.
American dream is to be my own boss, be myself, you know what I'm saying? Bring me to the world.
But back at Edmondson High School, his teachers just knew Boss Man as Travis. It's repetitive, realistic, and risky.
Let me know what colors you rep.
It's the youth culture's own soapbox, a call for social change.
HBO should have warned you.
Teens who could have made a wrong turn instead use the streets for their inspiration.
It's like I've done a lot of things in my life that were not positive, but you know, just one day it hit me, boom, you gotta make a change, and that's exactly what I did.
Meet
I've been doing this since I was 10.
Another urban poet.
Something about Baltimore, well, it's not necessarily good, but it's reality. It's like 353 bodies lined the streets in 1993 in Baltimore City.
He's just
To describe my music as a message, it is a very positive message in it because it's saying, look, you can make something from nothing.
But contemporary hip-hop often faces social criticism. She grew up as emotion.
And any strong emotion that's invoked is what I write about. So whenever I'm feeling something, I hit the paper and it comes right out.
But it's a brutal business.
How a lot of people looked at me as a white female in front of all these black dudes rapping, like, is she real? Yeah, emotion.
But emotion's not singing the blues. Quite the contrary.
To everybody on the grind and those doing time. If you try and keep your head up, cause you're gonna shine. Hope you on your game, cause I'm on mine. Getting dough like a Super Bowl spot on halftime.
In Brooklyn, Kathleen Cairns, Fox 45.
Some big names in the music industry have Baltimore roots. Tupac attended school here. He died in a drive-by shooting in 1996. Earl Simmons was also born in Baltimore. He's better known as the rapper.
Hi, I'm Emotion. I might know hip-hop, but I also know football. Check out my Ravens Perspective every Saturday on Rant and Rave on iccolorlive.tv.